There is another question. Usually some Arabs give certain signs of the Imam Mahdi. For instance, his name, his origin from among the Prophet's progeny, being from Arabia. Are these the principal signs for the Imam Mahdi? If not, what are the real signs for the advent of Al-Mahdi?
You see, what are signs? Those who distinguish between one thing and another, or those who confuse things. First, this is what should be understood. If there is a sign, so-called sign, instead of leading you from darkness to truth, it leaves you halfway where you don't know whether it is darkness or truth. Then what is the purpose of that sign? Now, these scholars, I call them medievalists. They do not go all the way back to Hazrat Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and understand his prophecies in the light of the wisest of prophets, who spoke like Jesus Christ, sometimes in parables, sometimes in metaphors, but stop midway and look at the scholars born during the politicization of Islam in that period, who were very harsh in their attitude, very, sword-minded, trigger-happy people. So they understood Islam with reference to whatever they knew of that age. And the mullahs of today, I don't understand their attitude. Instead of going all the way back to Rasul Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the Quran and trying to infer sensible, acceptable meaning with reference to this age, they turn halfway and stop there and say, Mullah said this, Mullah said that, and that Imam said this, and that Imam said that. As he understood, he must have been right. And they destroy the whole thing with reference to the Quran and the Hadith, and they lose the meaning. Now, during that period, many traditions were in rotation. And those traditions, as I understand, if they contradicted each other, they could not be all true. If they apparently contradicted each other and you delve deeper into them, you could have found some system of reconciliation and compromise. But they did not bother about it. These ulama of that age period, they accepted everything verbatim, word for word, exactly as it is. And they didn't bother to consider that this will create problems, contradictions attributed to Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And they didn't bother to see that these things can happen accidentally as well. How could you believe an imam to be from God if his name was Muhammad, if his mother's name was Amna, if his father's name was Abdullah, and he belonged to the progeny of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, if he happened to claim to be Imam Mahdi? This is the question. If these are really signs which do not confuse things, then there was exactly such an Imam born in Yemen. Why have you rejected him? Why don't you believe in him? Was it Yemen or Sudan? Sudan. The Mahdi of Sudan fulfilled these requirements. And unfortunately, he met with disaster ultimately and has become a part of history. So the question is, this is not only the one person, there are others who happen to have fulfilled these criteria. There is one Maulana Muhammad Jaunpuri of India. He also happened to fulfill this criteria. So if these traditions really speak of distinctive signs, then all Muslims who insist on these traditions must believe first on them. Forget about the Mahdi of the Qadian. But before that, these have already been fulfilled. Why do they reject them? So when they have rejected the sign, why do they demand this sign from us? The sign which they have already rejected?
Yeah.
Now you see the argument. Another example of the same, a few years ago in Mecca, a party of armed men under leadership fulfilled all the requirements of one of the ahadith. about the Mahdi. He would make khuruj from here, then he will go and stand by the wall of the Mecca of Khana Kaaba and announce his Mahdaviyyat from there. And all these things were fulfilled verbatim, letter by letter. You know what the Saudis did to them? They slaughtered them, all of them. Did not spare a single soul. So when a Mahdi fulfills these requirements which you demand from us to be full literally, you slaughter them. So which Mahdi would you believe in then? You see? Please. Another hadith. Now if you take these hadiths literally, you know what would happen? There is one hadith which tells us that yudfanu ma'i fi qabri. The Mahdi, and also it is said about Jesus Christ, yudfanu ma'i fi qabri. Now it's not by my side, it is fi qabri. Mudfanu ma'i may be misunderstood as by my side, but no, it's fi qabri, in my grave. Now they say, ask the mullahs from Pakistan, you know, they many a time come and inquire from me. Said, where did Hazrat Mirza Sahib die? Where did he die? I said, in Lahore. Where was he buried? I said, in Qadian. You see, this is hadith. Yudfanu ma'i fi qabri. I said, all right. First of all, tell me, is there any one single Muslim today living who would dare anybody to open the grave of Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and bury anyone, whatever he is? He would rather die, slaughtered himself, than permit anybody to dishonor this grave. He said, no. I said, if somebody claims to be a Mahdi, would you permit him? Would you promise him that all right, we'll bury you in that grave? No, what you will say would be a different thing. You will say, you are the Mahdi, okay. If you are the Mahdi, you must fulfill the traditions. And that means when you die, if you are buried in that grave, then we will accept you, not before that. All the life is denied, poor man. See, as a false man, because the hadith is not fulfilled. When he dies as a false man, who would bury him in that grave? How on earth could you fulfill this? Use wisdom, common sense. You know, I can suggest a meaning which applies to which if applied to the touchstone of common sense and human nature, reads so well, so beautiful. When you say somebody is like me in origin, somebody is like me in death, don't oppose him. You can express it that as if my father is his father, my mother is his mother, my name is his name. Don't separate us as far as our birth and coming into the world is concerned. We come from the same source. This is an expression also in other languages.
Yes.
And when you say somebody dies my death, that is a holy death, there is nothing wrong with that. You say as if he is in my grave. In Urdu we say, will you be buried in his grave? Which means that do you have the same end as he has? So this could be the only meaning of these traditions. But they are not signs as separating the confusion from the clear truth. Because as I have expressed already, they lead from something to confusion and insoluble confusion. After that, I'll quote a hadith which I consider a sign. You can all criticize this if you please. You're invited to do whatever you like.
Can we add to this the saying that he is from my progeny, he is from Fatima, my daughter?
Of that, I'll come later. It's a separate question.
Okay.
Because I don't want to confuse it here.
Yes, okay.
These ahadith, these traditions should be understood with reference to a verse of Jesus regarding Jesus Christ. You understand the verse, then you understand these ahadiths. If you don't understand the verse, you will not understand. The Holy Quran tells that Jesus said, Salamun alayya yawma wulidtu wa yawma amutu wa yawma ubathu hayya. So, Wiladat and Maut, they are referred by Jesus. And with reference to the future Imam, Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is also speaking in the same terms. That his Wiladat will be holy as well as with peace from Allah, and as well as his death. So don't mock at him, don't laugh at him, don't separate him from me. If you do it, you will be separating him from me, you know.
No.
So these things are metaphorical, spiritual things. They should be understood in relation to the Quranic versions, Quranic verses. Now, one tradition, there's so many traditions. There are other things which I must point out, that no Mahdi could be considered as Mahdi who has lived his life and Jesus has not appeared during his lifetime. This is something very important which should be understood by all these people who are in search of a sign. Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah is consistent on this, that Mahdi would appear first and then Jesus Christ. And both will share the same age. So all the Mahdis, whether they are Shia Mahdis or Sunni Mahdis of the past, do not qualify this test. They're out of the contest. Secondly, there is a tradition which, and this is why, surprisingly, nobody claimed to be Messiah, because they thought he would descend from heaven. And no false man could make him appear from heaven, So surprisingly, they all claim about Mahdiyyat, but don't claim about Messiah. They know it's not possible for them because their understanding about Messiah was wrong, and it could not be fulfilled according to their understanding. That the prophecy could not be fulfilled according to their understanding. Now let's turn to another tradition which speaks of heavenly signs, which are beyond the scope of any man. Hazrat Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam speaks of the two signs in the words, وَإِنَّ لِمَهْدِيِّنَا آيَتَيْنِ لَمْ تَكُونَا مُنْذُ خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَوَّلُهَا أَنْ يَنْكَسِفَ الْقَمَرُ فِي أَوَّلِ لَيْلَةٍ مِنْ رَمَضَانَ وَتَنْكَسِفُ الشَّمْسُ فِي النِّصْفِ مِنْهُ وَلَمْ تَكُونَا مُنْذُ خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. I have already spoken on this, haven't I?
Yes, but with no detail.
No detail. So these are the two signs which could not have been, first of all, forged by anyone who used there were people who used to forge hadith. No man could forge such a hadith because it relates to something which is heavenly and it could not serve the purpose of any false claimant. You see, this is also very interesting. So many Mahdis are found in history, so-called Mahdis. None of them, without exception, has shown the advent of Jesus Christ in any form. Is absolutely dumb and numb over it. So how could he be the same person? And none of them has pointed to these two heavenly signs, because man could not control the heavenly signs, they are only in the control of God. So because it did not serve the purpose of any false man, how a false man could imagine such a thing and for what purpose? Every hadith which was distorted or which was concocted had some purpose, some ulterior motive to serve. And with this hadith there is no ulterior motive, because it's something beyond human knowledge, human control. So the two signs are, the moon will eclipse on the first of the nights and the sun would eclipse in the middle of the days of Ramadan. Now, I have read old scholars who have written very clearly. I have got some references which I'll speak during my address in Jalsa Salam.
Inshallah.
They understood the meaning before Ahmadiyya, much before that. That Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam could only refer to the 3 nights of the moon eclipse and 3 days of the sun eclipse. And they understood, although they were many hundreds of years before, they were wise people and honest people. At least they understood by that time the nature of the eclipses, because this was scientifically discovered. So with reference to that phenomenon, they say the moon can get eclipsed only in 3 nights, 13, 14 and 15. The sun can get eclipsed only in 3 days, 27, 28, 29. So they inferred from this, obviously, that Ahmad sallallahu alaihi wasallam must have been referring to 3 moon nights to be the first of the moon nights. Of these nights, the moon of the first night would eclipse. That is what they understood. And of the days of the sun, middle day was 29th, 28th, 27, 28, 29. So this is what they understood. And this is exactly how it happened. In 1894, full 5 years after Jamaat Ahmadiyya came into being in 1889, and the claim of Madhaviyyat was made. So surprisingly, this sign came to be fulfilled exactly like this. On the 13th of the Ramadan in 1894, the moon got eclipsed, 13th moon. And on the 28th, the sun got eclipsed. How could a false man even imagine such a thing to have happened? And no one has ever claimed this. So this sign has come to fulfill. It's only some Pakistani mullahs, I mean those who don't know the true spirit of Arabic language, they say, no, we don't believe that because he said first of the month. And the first of the month is when the moon appears just as a slight, slice on the heaven. That should have been eclipsed. I say, for God's sake, Hazrat sallallahu alaihi wasallam was afsahul Arabi ba'da kitabillah. If he knew from God, as you tell us, that it would be the first moon of the first moon during the period of Hilal, that is the 3 first nights, that would be eclipsed. He should have used the word Hilal. Why did he say Qamar? If you have Hilal in mind positively, you would never refer to it as Qamar. Qamar is a general name also applicable to all the phases of moon, I agree. But when an Arab has Hilal in mind, he would never refer to it as Qamar. There is Royat Hilal committees. If somebody says Royat Qamar committee, won't you laugh at him? Say, what stupid man? No, it's Royat Hilal. He said, why not? The Qamar is the general name, it can also be applied to the moon. He said, all right, but we know Arabic better than you do. When you think of Hilal, you speak of Hilal. So that is a sign that Rasulullah knew it was not Hilal which was spoken of. It was some other night, which was the first of the eclipse nights which have been created by nature. So the sign is there, is for the rest of the world, for the world to recognize it and accept, or to reject it, as early people have been rejecting the signs of Allah. Right? I'm told the time is over now. So although the meeting becomes very short with you, I don't know why. Perhaps I take too long a time. But inshallah, we'll sit again. We'll meet again after Jalsa this time. Is it right? After Jalsa, inshallah. And we'll continue until all your questions, I hope, are resolved. Okay? So, but what about the translation?
I will do the translation if Hudur...
Okay. We'll continue.
We continue next week.
Okay.
يقول
In the same program?
Yes, same program.
Okay, please.
We start from here.
Yes.
From this, there is a point, inshallah,
Yes.
next time, because Hudur says that the first night is Hilal. Some people says, oh, it is a miracle and Allah will make it.
I have that in mind.
Okay.
During our next meeting, we'll
Inshallah.
start with this.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I have very clearly that in
Yes,
mind.
yes.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.